If you love the Hotel Transylvania franchise as much as we do, you're probably curious to find out about its latest monsters. While unique and hilarious, most of these monsters stem from ageless fables and scary stories. Watch until the end to find out where these monsters come from and whether or not they originate from real-life events. First time at the things? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a big thumbs up. Now, let's uncover the truth behind our favorite Hotel Transylvania 3 monsters. Abraham Van Helsing, Hellwing. As the main antagonist of Hotel Transylvania 3 Summer Vacation, Abraham Van Helsing is often seen as the big bad. And while he's known for slaying monsters and vampires alike, there's much more to him than meets the eye. This fictional character originates from the 1987 horror novel Dracula, which was written by Bram Stoker. However, recent studies prove that this fictional character was based off of a man who lived over 300 years ago. According to the Polish journalist Adam Weglowski, Van Helsing was created to mimic George Andreas Hellwing, a Lutheran pastor from Poland. During his lifetime, Hellwing wrote dozens of books tailored around the supernatural. He was so obsessed with vampires that he convinced himself that they were behind Poland's bubonic plague. Hellwing is said to have hunted and executed monsters for decades, which resulted in him being a well-known and celebrated figure. So can you see the resemblance between these two characters?
So, any big plans for the weekend, that Bill?
Oh, you know, the usual. Gotta take the kids to soccer.
Wayne, a werewolf. Wayne might be a mighty werewolf, but he's often seen acting like a domesticated dog. This stressed-out character has a lot on his plate, but he's always got room for more sheep. While the Hotel Transylvania franchise portrays Wayne as a reasonable guy, there's nothing sensical about being a werewolf. Another common term for werewolves are lycanthropes, and these ancient characters don't mess around. Did you know that werewolves are the oldest legends known to humanity? Well, now you do. Believe it or not, but there are actually historical recordings surrounding werewolf trials, meaning that people were once captured and accused of being lycanthropes. The difference between Wayne and mystic werewolves is significant, especially since he remains in his wolf form at all times and doesn't shapeshift with the moon. The same goes for Wayne's wife and children, as they don't have the ability to walk in a human skin weeks at a time. Count Dracula, Vlad the Impaler. Few monsters would complain about the way Dracula runs his hotel, and this is due to how hilarious and genuine he is. Drac is a vampire who can shapeshift into a bat. He has long fangs, a red cape, and pale skin, but he doesn't fit the ancient profile of Count Dracula. The legend of Dracula originates from Romania and dates back for centuries. However, it wasn't until Bram Stoker weaved the tale that Count Dracula became a worldwide sensation. As Romanian history would have it, a Wallachian ruler named Vlad Dracula lived in a castle named Transylvania, where he committed heinous crimes on his own people. This led him to gain the nickname Vlad the Impaler, and later got him sent to a Hungarian prison. The Romanian people believed that vampires could freely roam through their villages twice a year, causing them to use holy water, crucifixes, and garlic as protection. Although Vlad the Impaler fit the profile of a vampire, his exact status remains a mystery. In the end, the Dracula we all know and love stems from Stoker's imagination. In Hotel Transylvania, we meet Drac's father, Vlad, who is also based off of this ancient ruler. Griffin the Invisible Man. If it weren't for Griffin's glasses, we would be unable to acknowledge his presence. Luckily for us, our favorite invisible man doesn't have 20/20 vision. Griffin is a witty character who always has something to say, but his history doesn't begin and end in Hotel Transylvania. Griffin's character is based on the novel The Invisible Man, which was written by A.G. Wells in 1897. This story tells the tale of a scientist named Griffin who successfully turns himself invisible. Problem is, he's unable to reverse the experiment. So to maintain a normal life, Griffin uses glasses and face bandages to remain in the public's view. Despite many downfalls that come with being invisible, Griffin seems to enjoy himself by wreaking havoc on the people in his town. The Invisible Man quickly became a scary story and was later adapted in a horror film before finding its way into Hotel Transylvania. While there's a lot about our favorite monsters that we don't know, we still love them just the same. Watch until the end to find out the truth about Eunice and Frankenstein's relationship.
America loves the Drac. She can't get enough of the Drac.
Murray, the Mummy. If there's one thing Hotel Transylvania has taught us, it's that just because a person looks scary doesn't mean that they are. Murray the Mummy might be big, might have glowing green eyes, and might be covered with bandages from head to toe, but he's a sweetheart if we've ever seen one. Before stumbling across Hotel Transylvania, Murray entertained the pharaohs of Egypt, which is where the legend of the mummy comes from. In ancient Egyptian times, the death of a pharaoh stipulated many things, one of them being their body's mummification. Despite being a gruesome process, it did help preserve bodies for centuries. The mummy legend arose when a team of archaeologists stumbled across an ancient tomb and brought stories back to the West. It was then that writers and cinematographers began toying with the concept of cursed mummies. They imagined that mummified corpses would come back to haunt those who disturbed their tombs. Luckily for us, Murray seems to be focused on having a good time instead of getting his revenge. The Kraken. It's safe to say that every single monster in Hotel Transylvania originates from a legend of some sorts. The Kraken is no exception to the rule, especially since the legend of the Kraken first appeared in the late 13th century. While the monster might have a beautiful singing voice in Hotel Transylvania 3 Family Vacation, he is known for being an evil and twisted sea creature by the Norwegian people and sailors alike. These giant octopuses have been spotted throughout history, and believe it or not, one incident reports a giant octopus attacking a sailing vessel in Angola and pulling it beneath the sea. Despite the countless rumors surrounding the Kraken, its legend isn't as far-fetched as the monsters that came before him. The big and mighty sea beast is featured in countless movies, like in Pirates of the Caribbean 2, and while he might not be as big as some claim him to be, giant octopus do exist and can grow to be enormous. When we were first introduced to this character in Hotel Transylvania 3, many of us thought that the cruise was going to be attacked. Funny enough, the cruise ship was serenaded with music instead. Stan the Fishman, Fish Waiter. Stan the Fishman is a minor character in Hotel Transylvania 3, but that doesn't make him any less important. While most monsters are scary beyond belief, Stan is probably the least threatening character in the entire film. He's a tight-lipped fish who works as a waiter on the cruise ship, and he's terrified of Wayne's pups. While many of us wouldn't think twice about Stan the Fishman, he actually originates from one of the most famous fairy tales in the world. The brothers Grimm published Hansel and Gretel back in 1812, and it's in this storyline that Stan exists. Although he is referred to as a fish waiter by Hansel and Gretel, his actual name remains unknown. The fish waiter doesn't have a huge role in the fable, but he is responsible for plumping up Hansel and Gretel. With such a unique look, it's no wonder that Hotel Transylvania creators chose to adopt him into their movie. Did you recognize him from the Hansel and Gretel storybook? Or is this all new news to you? Gremlin Airline. The Gremlins. By now, we all know that there's nothing worse than being waited on by a gremlin. This is especially true since these beasts can't seem to contain their excitement after a certain amount of time. Since monsters travel with Gremlin Airline and no one else, it's only normal for them to be unfazed by their flight attendants' destructive personalities. Did you know that the little green monsters in Hotel Transylvania 3 actually originate from the movie Gremlins? In this film, a teenager gets his hands on a pack of adorable gremlins and chooses to raise them as pets. However, he forgets to obey the 3 primal rules, which causes them to transform into evil little monsters. Anyone who has watched the Gremlins before will instantly make the connection between the 2 films.
So, what do we do now?
I think we do whatever we want.
Tinkles the Hellhound. When it comes to saying no, Dracula isn't exactly an expert. This has everything to do with his soft side, which seems to take over him most of the time. After the birth of his first grandchild, Dennis, Dracula's backbone becomes even weaker. So when Dennis starts begging for a puppy, Drac eventually caves into his demands. But instead of buying a regular dog for his grandson, Drac decides on the biggest puppy he has ever seen in his life. Although Tinkles is bigger than a door frame, he does fit in perfectly with the monsters. So alas, Mavis and Johnny decide to let their son keep the enormous dog. Regardless of Tinkle's good nature, the background of his character does stem from a monstrous root. After all, Tinkle is considered to be a hellhound, and the last thing you want under your roof is one of those demonic creatures. These supernatural dogs aren't common in today's society, but back in ancient European times, many stories were written about them. Hellhounds were said to have black fur, red eyes, and a ghostly appearance, which made them all the more terrifying. In some darker fables, it's said that humans who stare into a hellhound's eyes for more than 3 seconds will soon pass away. In the end, Tinkle is no ordinary dog, which is why Drac brought him home in the first place. But hey, at least his eyes don't hold a killing curse inside of them. Blobby, ooze monster. Blobby is one of the cutest characters in Hotel Transylvania. This green piece of jello is good friends with Dracula, and he's known for using his special abilities to save people from harm. Knowing this, we wouldn't dare call him a monster, but it seems as though his background doesn't share our point of view. This character's physique was borrowed from a Dungeons & Dragons character named Ooze. The role-playing game categorizes Ooze as an enemy who attacks the main characters without any remorse. So all in all, things aren't looking too good for Blobby. On another note, Blobby can also be compared to Flubber, a funny green blob belonging to the 1997 movie Flubber. Regardless of his history, we're confident that Blobby is as lovely as a monster gets.
So you can believe me when I tell you there are monsters hiding amongst you!
Frankenstein and Eunice, Bride of Frankenstein. There's no use denying it, Eunice is loud, obnoxious, and a little too obsessed with her hair. But despite her strong personality traits, Frankenstein loves her with all his heart. Although Eunice's character might appear to be one of a kind, she actually stems from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. In this novel, we read about a human-made monster who is yearning to find love. Unfortunately for him, he's unable to leave his confinement, and so he convinces his creator, Victor, to make him a wife. The mad scientist's plan fails when he can't bring himself to create another monster. Unfortunately, Frankenstein's anger consumes him, which results in him killing Victor's wife, Elizabeth. After Victor brings her back to life for his monster, she wakes up in a terrified state, and instead of falling in love with her newest husband, she desperately tries to get away from him. Following the novel, a movie called Frankenstein's Bride was released, and while its plot differed from the novel, one thing remained the same. Frankenstein's wife wanted nothing to do with him. Luckily, this isn't the case with Eunice and her husband, as they genuinely appear to love each other. Knowing what you know now, which Hotel Transylvania monster would you be more scared to encounter? Let us know why in the comments. And that's it for our video. Thanks for watching, and see you next time on The Things.